Hello, and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through passionate people doing incredible things. Hi, I'm Trey. I don't have a funny intro for this week, but I am joined by my incredible co host, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hello. Trey, you're looking remarkable today, I have to say.
Uh, yeah, I'm giving very intense stare down. It's like I'm not blinking or
You're
anything.
not blinking.
No.
You're not moving at all. I didn't think this was even possible. And here you are staring into my soul and I can't stop it.
I know. I've had exes say the same thing. Um, for our viewing audience, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you may notice that there is a lovely headshot of me instead of my normal webcam. That is because this past week I did have a sinus surgery, and I'm still recovering from that. So I found it better to still be present in some capacity than not at all. But that is why we are in this particular scenario. So yeah, and well, you have this big grin on your face. I
I'm
don't
thinking
know.
of all the jokes I can tell during this episode. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Like,
Oh.
Trey, I can't tell by the look on your face if you're interested.
Trey, I can't tell if you have a question.
Right. It looks like you're about to say something. Do you want me to give you some space to say it?
Oh, this is gonna be fun. This
It's going to
is.
be great. At least we can hear you laugh.
You see, that is the good part.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really excited because we can both see and hear our guest today. So, Emily, would you mind introducing our fantastic guest today?
Yes. Today we have an amazing, multi talented, and multifaceted artist and harpist, Beth Stockdell, with us. Welcome to the podcast, Beth.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you.
Before the podcast, we were we were swapping the fact that we both have had that sinus surgery, so it is nice to be in good company.
Yes. Yeah. I have the quantity when it comes to surgeries of all ilks. So, yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
Good times.
yeah.
Yeah.
at
Oh,
the time
yeah. So good.
at the time of recording, it's a good time too because spring has not yet set in, but the allergies are a coming.
Yeah, it's just in time for you to get your sinuses cleared up so that when the real pollen is coming, you'll be able to experience all of it.
All of it and
All of
one.
it.
And more. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
So, Beth, you have so many things under your belt and lived several lifetimes of different types of art. And I
Yep.
want to dive into like all of those to some degree. But tell us about where your love for art started. Like what made you get into art in the beginning?
Photography.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, my father had a pretty nice Nikon camera. And when I was really young, I just started taking it and shooting photos. And of course, I'm you might not be in this era, but I'm in the era of when you bought a roll of film and you put it in the camera and it went through Easter and the summer vacation and Thanksgiving, and right after Christmas you might get it developed, and that was a big deal. And instantly then all of a sudden I was taking a lot of photos and my dad was like, oh my god, she's taking too many photos. But pretty soon he decided that I knew what I was doing and I had an eye, and I think it's just an innate thing of color and balance. And so yeah, so I just started doing photography from a young age, and then I got really lucky. In high school, I had a really good friend who was a professional photographer, and he brought me along and he taught me. We worked at a place that was in Portland for professional photographers who would come in and use all the equipment to do their own printing of the
Mm.
images. And I worked there with him, and then I worked there at that place. So teaching people how to print and use all the equipment. And So yeah, from photography, it all started from there.
So what kind of things or what kind of photographer were you then?
Well, in the early days, I just did art, photography, a lot of nature things,
Okay.
and then later I did. I was a wedding photographer for 10 years, and I did a lot of, senior portraits, and I did a lot of commercial photography as well.
Okay.
And then I actually worked at another for 5 years. I worked at one of the top um, commercial photography studios in Portland, and I was just the assistant there. Booked the models and did the lunch runs. It was a small shop, but did a lot of work there in photography, and then yeah, but a lot of stuff on the side, and still doing all my own printing, and yeah, so it all started from there.
That's really different coming from a printing aspect. I don't print anything myself. I send it to be printed.
Yeah,
So, in fact, some people have said like you don't really understand it until you've been in a dark room or until you've watched how this process actually goes, and I haven't. And if that makes me less of a photographer, I don't know, but man, it's true that I don't really understand how that works. I would be fascinated to learn it, but
yeah,
I suppose that does affect how you create your final products.
it does, and it's really I was there at the advent of Photoshop, you know, um, and now I use it a lot in the magazine because I edit a magazine. So,
Yeah.
I'm using it a lot but balancing color for photos and doing the color correction and the color balance, like, it's critical and it's so important. And I'm glad that I learned it because then it has helped me um, learn graphic design and
Sure.
everything once you understand all those different color balances. And I'm constantly tweaking color balances. I think it's really important to me. And yeah, it's just to me it's just foundational, and I don't know where I would be without having learned that, because yeah, and I think it's been through all my art disciplines, through glass and through photos, I mean, just through life, that balance of color is just critical to me. I, yeah, I have a story from when I was a kid, which, something that my dad chose for decorating, and I was just like, nope, that won't work. It's wrong. Because it was the wrong color. And I was just, oh, what a bratty kid. I don't know why I let me get away with that, but I was just like, it's adamant that I'm so adamant about color. Yeah, just one of my things, and how they balance together. So it's really,
Fascinating.
So,
'Cause
oh,
oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Trey. Nope.
So, when you talk about this as kind of that introduction into other mediums, I'm curious, what was like the next medium, and how did you kind of branch out from photography?
stained glass. I did custom stained glass for about almost 20 years, and I did a lot of art stuff, but I also did commercial installations for businesses and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doors for a yoga studio in town, and a lot of other things like that, logo pieces. Yeah, and the things that I did with stained glass, I didn't do very many flat panels in my personal work. The things that I did were all built three-dimensional pieces,
Oh,
the
wow.
things that were
Oh,
coming
wow.
up off of the um you've got that flat plane, but then everything was coming off of it
Yeah.
into multiple layers, and with open spaces in the glasses. So, um, and again, I think it's like, honestly, probably my first medium was learning how to sew with my grandmother, which I'm not really particularly good at, but that's a skill where you learn pattern layout and how do you use your material in the most effective manner. And then when you start doing glass, you're doing the same thing. You're taking patterns, you're laying them out on glass and thinking, okay, how can I lay this out the most effectively in the way that uses the material the best way, whatever
Mm-hmm.
is fabric, glass, paper. Now I do paper because I'm laying out paper um, and so so I did stained glass for about 20 years, but then I stopped. When I went full time as a harpist, I decided that harp and glass did not work well together, and so I had to stop. But I honestly, it's nice. It's nice for me. Each thing has run its course. Like for photography, we moved from Oregon to Arkansas, and it was right in '99, which was right at that moment where the evolution of film and digital was starting. And so it was a lucky time for me to, I stopped working commercially then, so I didn't end up having to rebuild all my equipment. And the earliest digital cameras that I had, I just thought, oh, this is just going to be a fluke. And the only thing I found useful for the digital camera was actually because of the stained glass and the 3D pieces that I built that were so weird. I would lay them out, but then I had to take them apart to do the next steps to be able to put them back together. And that was when I was so excited about the digital camera, because I could take pictures along the way and then go back and reference what I was doing to help me rebuild things. Because before I was just like scribbling little pictures and trying to remember what I had done.
Yeah,
So,
because it was immediate. You could see the picture again immediately.
yes.
Yeah.
And, instead of taking it with my camera and then having to go, process the film and do all that.
Right.
So, I never really thought digital photography would go that far. I had, no idea it would happen. And then, but then I ended up, I had to go stopped. But glass had kind of run its course by the time I decided to go full time as a harpist. Um, I had been playing 5, 6 years, I think, by then, and I had still done a little stuff here and there. But once I went full time, it's like, okay, if you've got a wedding this weekend, you can't have sliced your finger open. And now it's like, well, I'm done with weddings now, but for the last 8 years, what I've been doing paper, a paper cut is not as likely to keep me from, playing a gig.
I can't imagine playing a harp with a cut from glass. Like I do
Yes.
glass work too, and
I know.
and I can't. I mean, I'm not a harpist, but I can't. I can hardly do other things when I
Yeah.
have a cut on my fingers. But it happens often
Yeah.
enough.
I know it does. Yeah. Right. So anyway, and then I
Yeah.
floundered for a while. I mean, I was so intent on my harp for so long that I didn't really think too much about another art medium, but I did finally hit a place where I decided, okay, I need another art medium, and what's it going to be? And then that's when I started making books and doing paper art. So
And I want to talk about this magazine too.
yes.
You have a magazine that is a harp based. Well, tell us about it.
It's not technically my magazine, but the Folk Harp Society, which is the International Society for Folk Harpers and Craftsmen, we have a magazine called the Folk Harp Journal.
Okay.
And it's as Trey does more symphony based stuff, he's used to seeing the big gold pedal harp. Well, we are everything but that. So, and then around the world, there are so many different kinds of harps. All kinds of countries and traditions have different kinds of harps. And
Interesting.
so the magazine started about 50 years ago by a gentleman who was building harps, and he wanted to help get the word out to people who were building harps. And that was a start of the folk harp folk harp yeah, of it starting to come to be, because it really hadn't been before. That was not something that was common and that people could find a harp, if it wasn't a symphony harp, so which is a pedal harp. So anyway, but now the magazine is more for people like me who are not builders. We don't have as many builders as we used to. So it's really a place where we, as the folk harp community, come together to trade music and stories and inspiration. And so about 20 years ago, right after I had started playing the harp, a lady asked me if I could help do this one little thing for the magazine, and I did that thing for quite a few years, and then I took over the next thing for quite a few years, and then just over 10 years ago I became the editor-in-chief of the magazine, which means that I do all the story gathering, I do all the editing, I do all the graphic design, and I do all the ad management, all the social media, and oh yeah.
Well, a lot.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. So kind of the face of the group right now. So
I get that. You're like the director.
yeah,
Yep.
kind of, yeah. But I mean, we have a great board, and they're really a wonderful group of people, and then the folk harp community is just an amazing group of people, and it's been wonderful. And as a person who lives in a small town where I didn't, have a big harp community, I didn't have any harp community when I started at all here. It was like the first thing I did was subscribe to the folk art magazine, and it got me, it got me that community that I desperately needed, and to learn about the instrument that I loved. And when I started, I didn't know anything about it, so it was really, it was just sort of a random thing, and so yeah.
Yeah, that is. It is interesting that not everybody. How do I put this? Community is important in like everywhere all the time, and I feel like for a lot of people, sometimes it's hard to find their community. It's hard to find their tribe,
Yeah.
and when you find it, whether you create it or you find one, that is like you. I saw you. You put your hand on your
Yeah,
heart, and you're like, "This was
yeah.
like it saved me somehow to some degree."
100% saved me. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it's sort of joke, but starting the harp was my midlife crisis. I mean, it did literally save me. I mean, I was in a very dark thing time of my life, and I just said, there's going to be music, and randomly I decided it was going to be a harp, because that was what came from up above and said, this is what it's going to be. And I had so small of expectations for that time of my life. I was like, yeah, if I could play, one song at my grandma's retirement home, I'd be super happy, and that was, and the first concert I did there was literally, I knew 3 songs and that was it. I'm like, oh my God, that was, but they were happy,
And they don't know that those are the only 3 songs you know.
yeah. And the great thing about the harp is that, I mean, little things done basically still sound amazing. I mean, it's really hard to make the harp sound bad. So yeah, it was just, but if you had told me, that 23 years ago that this is where your life is going to take you, and this is what the harp is going to do to your life, and literally turn everything, everything is going to be different in your life because of the harp, I would have said, oh, that can't, but the harp changed everything about my life.
Right.
Everything. So
that is relatable.
yes.
Trey and I have this podcast here. Trey, who's staring intensely into your soul right now.
So intensely.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
find me so fascinating, Trey. It's really nice.
That's what it is. He's just riveted.
I mean, it's so nice to hear that because it sounds like, from what you're describing, that one piece of art led you to another piece of art, led you to another piece of art, until there was such a multitude of this just fulfillment within you. And it's so interesting to hear how people get to these different places. With every guest that we've had on the podcast, that have talked about all these different things that they do, they're not just a singer. They're also a singer and an audio producer. They're not just a harpist. They're also a graphic designer and editor in chief for a folk art magazine. Um, it's so interesting to hear that. And I was thinking about this earlier today and thinking we kind of live in a society where we like to put things into boxes. So I'm curious, for
Mhm.
you, how do you how do you go between these different things? Do you find yourself segmenting them off, or do you find like a nice flow between of all of these different artistic endeavors?
I To me it's seamless. It's so seamless. And I do want to say though, I did take a 15-year um sidetrack through all that into commercial insurance risk management. I have a master's degree in risk management insurance, which was crazy, but I am so lucky now and so like totally living my best life through the grace of my wonderful husband and my wonderful father who helped me in all the ways to have this wonderful life where I get to do whatever I want. And I cannot believe every day that this is my life and I get to do this. And I'm so grateful. But everything just balances just really well. The magazine is quarterly. So basically, I have 4 months out of the year where don't ask me to do anything because I'm, you know, April is one of those months. Like, I'm in the middle of deadline right now on the magazine, and like, the only something this important would get me out of
Oh.
it.
Oh, thank you.
Was so like really, I mean, like my friends know, don't ask me to dinner because I'm not, but then the rest of the time I get to play and I let's play my harp. I get to make a book. I get to draw a painting. I get to do whatever I want, and they just all go seamlessly together. To me, I don't see the don't. It's just kind of I don't. Maybe I don't know, crazy. It's just who I am. So it
Yeah.
doesn't feel. It's just who I am. So I just do it.
Right. When it's who you are, you don't think about it. It just is
Yeah,
part of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And no, you're not crazy. Because if you are, then both Emily and I are.
Yeah. I mean, then maybe it's all the good kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's the best kind of crazy, right?
Right.
It's that.
You, when we did the tech check for the show, you mentioned that you are familiar with one of our previous guests, and that was Stephanie Clausen,
Yes,
who
yes,
also a harpist,
yes.
who I got to go to see one of her performances in person. I guess that was last year already because we're in
Yeah.
2025 now, and it was so wonderful. And
Get to talk to her. As a matter of
yeah.
fact, I sent her an email after I watched her interview, um, and we're both teaching at a harp conference next month, so I'm
Oh,
gonna see
neat.
her next month. So
That's wonderful. Yeah, she is delightful.
she is. She does a lot of work with a company that does a lot of work with the folk art journal. Like
Oh,
we're
nice.
they're our official librarians, and so I communicate with them a lot about various things. So yeah, I always see her at functions and the harp conferences and things like that. She is a lovely, lovely person and an amazing harpist.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about doing a photo shoot one day.
Yes.
We need to do that.
But she's close to you, right? So
She is, yeah, like
that's
3 hours.
okay.
It's a drivable distance, yeah.
That's 100% drivable. Yeah.
Oh, I said 3. I meant 2. I had to think
2.
about it. It's 2
Oh,
hours. Yeah, even better.
even better.
Yeah.
Easy.
Don't
Easy.
even need to spend the night anywhere. Just
Uh-uh.
yeah.
Good. Yeah, she's good.
I am kind of curious because you mentioned the pedal harp is not kind of in that realm of the harps as part of the magazine. Would a lyre or those types of instruments be included in that? Oh,
They're in our world, yeah.
yes, excellent. Who? Okay, this is really really specific, but who still makes a lyre?
Um, there's there's a few companies. I think, as a matter of fact, Music Maker, who's the company that Stephanie's sort of affiliated with,
Mhm.
think they make some. They make all kinds of different instruments. And they're a company that they started out exactly at the same time as our founder started out building harps, and that was their main focus. And really, and then they started making kits so that people who weren't really good word workers could buy like most of the parts, like mostly done, and then they could assemble their own harps. And so that was really, but now I don't think that they sell very many kits even at all anymore. They make excellent really high quality harps that they ship out. But they make all kinds of instruments, so I wouldn't be surprised if they make a lyre, but honestly, I haven't looked at their catalog in a little while. So yeah, that's bad. But somebody sent me one about 2 years ago. Someone sent me one. So there, yeah, people are making them. Yeah.
So, Trey, does this mean you're going to become a lyre player?
It just means I'm going to become a liar. But I've been interested. Like I've wanted to pick up some type of stringed instrument, whether it be a I can't think of the word now, a mandolin or a lyre of some sort. I'm just really fascinated by the sound of it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things that there's lots of different ones and they would all have different sounds. So you'd have to hear the one that you're interested in first before you buy it.
Yeah.
Don't buy one off the internet without knowing what you're
No.
buying.
Would you say it has to resonate with me? But
Yes, I would.
Oh my gosh, Trey.
Look, we're not going to go an episode without some kind of fun.
That was
We're
incredible.
Pun or die in my house, so my dad sends me a pun a day, so.
Oh, excellent.
But it's so true because every instrument, every wood, every set of strings, they make such a difference. And there's sometimes you think, oh, this is the harp I really want because it really looks beautiful and I want that wood and everything. But then you sit down at it and there's something about it, either physically or tonally or something. I mean, I know it sounds woo woo, but the harp finds you. And so you can't force it because they find the right one finds you.
I love that though. That's like the romantic version of, but it's real. I believe 100%. You. I love that because that's like how it should be. Like, but only in like the fantasy side of how I see the world. So I love that it's real. It's like when you in Harry Potter, when you go in the wand, you have to find your wand and it finds you. Yes. Oh yeah, look at that. She's got books on her bookshelf. So yeah, I think that's amazing.
I'll tell you a quick story. When I had my midlife crisis and I decided I was going to play the harp and I didn't, that was just so random. And I was just like, but it just like came to me. So I called somebody that was a local pedal harpist, and they said, "You're an adult with no music background. You will never learn to play the harp. I wouldn't let you touch my harp, and
Whoa.
it's not going to happen." And I just said, "Okay," and I gave up, and I was just like, "Okay." So it went about like 6 months, and then I was actually back in Oregon visiting my parents, and I went with them to their church, and there was a lady there playing the lever harp, the folk harp, and playing a specific manufacturer that's actually an Oregon manufacturer, and I just went up to her and I was like, "Oh my God, that's it." That's what I want. And she was like, "Oh, you can learn. Don't worry about it. No problem." And little did I know, of course, that she was a way multi-instrumentalist and played everything. And so it was like, she was in a whole different league than I ever will or, expected to be. But she gave me and then in my life, I went through several harps before I found the harp that was the one I was supposed to have, and then back at the Oregon manufacturer. So I went in a circle, and then they ended up being my harp maker. So
Wow.
yeah.
But how powerful words became in that story. Like someone said you can't, and how powerful it was that you quit. And then someone said you can, and it was powerful enough for you to pick that idea back up.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And also like a lesson for everybody to not say you can't to anybody.
No. Why? I mean, yeah. It wasn't like, I never expected, when I spoke with that lady who's the symphony harpist, I never expected to take her place in the symphony. I just wanted to play a song,
Yeah.
and for her to say, and the pedal harpists are better now, but a lot of them look down on people like me who later as adults wanted to learn to play the harp. They usually do start at super young age, and they come from classical background, and so it's but the folk harp world is very different. We mostly have people who played something else or never played and took it up in retirement. And so, with every issue of the magazine, I'm really, really cognizant of the fact that I have to entertain someone who's, like me, playing for 25 years. And then I also have to entertain the person who has just bought their first harp 6 months ago and is welcoming them. I need to be welcoming them to our world and saying, "Come along, we are thrilled to have you with us." So it's really, I take that really, really as critical. And also we're the International Society of Folk Harpers and Craftsmen, and we have US members, but we have a lot of other international members, and I'm really cognizant of that, and trying to represent all the different types of harps in different cultures. And as a matter of fact, the issue that I'm working on right now, which I'm really excited about, is all about world music. And I gathered as many different countries as I can cram in to really talk about all the different musical cultures. And especially as a person who's a travel geek, I can never get enough learning about other countries and other cultures. So yeah, it's really important.
That's fascinating too, because I bet most people don't realize that a harp is not just a harp. I learned that from Stephanie too. Like there are large harps and smaller harps, and she has like a little Celtic traveling harp, and then she has the bigger harps and the ones that go plunk in the night because they didn't hold the string well and things like that. But and so, but learning that, like I didn't think about a lyre being a harp until today, just now. And I didn't think about all the instruments out there in other countries and cultures that might also be considered, like I didn't know there was a difference between a orchestra harp and a, there's a pedal involved with some of them and things like that. Most people just think harp, the end, like
Yeah.
piano,
Yeah.
even though there's upright and grand and, things like that.
Right.
So that is a fascinating thing to learn.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people it's sort of like, the guitar. You have an electric guitar, you have an acoustic guitar, you have,
Right.
all kinds of different kinds of guitars. It's the same. For me, I tell people I play the lever harp, which is to balance that against the pedal harp. But then that's confusing to people. And so I say, well, also known as the folk harp or the Celtic harp. But I'm personally always say that I don't play the Celtic harp. I play the lever harp because my harp doesn't know that she can only play Celtic music. She plays every single genre of music out there. So she's not a Celtic harp, but she's a lever harp that can play Celtic music. So to me, that is an important difference. But yeah, I mean, every lot of the different South American countries, their harp is really different. They're super tall. They don't have any levers. They have different strings, different spacing. They look pretty much like mine, but except for they're tall and skinny. And then Japan has a different harp, and China has a different harp, and they're fascinating. They're just fascinating.
That is fascinating. Have you gotten to hear many of these?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love the way that you said that. Like, yes, I have, and everyone is special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are. They're all like my kids, right? Yeah.
I was going to ask if you named your harp because you said she.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's her name?
Well, I have Samantha at the moment. I had another one, but when I stopped working weddings, I sold her. But I do have one, and I've had a whole bunch of small ones that when I was teaching harp, I would have around to give to students, and I didn't name all of them. But I do have a small travel harp, and her name is Stella. So, because it's actually this wonderful man back east. It's actually, the body is cardboard, the neck is wood, but the body is cardboard, and it comes in a kit, and then you can build the harp and paint it. And so I painted it, and she's in my star and moon theme, so her name is Stella. So.
That makes sense. Cardboard, though.
Cardboard. And it sounds great. It doesn't have any levers, but it sounds great. And the thing that I love about it is that it stands up really well. It's really well balanced, and it does have a good tone for being a cardboard harp. But I frequently go to the library and play, and so I will take it because I can set it right on the ground in front of me, and it's just slightly smaller than kid height, and there's nothing they can do to hurt it. So and it keeps them away from my harp. Like, here, play this one, and they just play it and beat the crap out of it, and they love it. They got to play a harp, and and so it's just great, and it stands up really nicely, and so it's really nice.
I would not expect a cardboard harp to be a thing.
Yeah, it is.
Like, wait, so what part of it? I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So you have like the straight part, and then you have the swoopy part at the top, and then I don't know what the name is called, and then you have this part at the bottom. Yeah. Which part is cardboard? Because not the strings.
The body. Let's see.
Like, is the body the part?
This is funny.
Oh, look at this. Okay.
Okay, so this is a book that I made a while ago.
That's a book?
Yeah, it's a book. I'll show you. Okay, but so this part of the cardboard harp is wood, and this part of it is the cardboard harp.
That's the body. Okay.
That's the body, which is the sound box. This is the
hard
sound box.
Straight part is what I'm thinking then.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a book?
This is a
Okay,
Oh my gosh, you are so talented. Look at
for our
that.
audio only listeners, she just blew our minds. Um,
Yeah.
so what she's showing us is a harp that has been constructed, and she will tell us more about this. It has a
What is that? Oh, a little music note.
lovely treble clef as a clasp on the front, and when she pulls
that's
it
the
up
back.
That's
on
the
the
back
back,
of the sound box
on
part.
the
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
of the sound box of a harp, she extends pages of a book that are all harp themed.
That's all. Those
Ah,
are my photos of my harps in different locations. Those are all my photos.
They're her children
Yeah.
in a little
So
harp book.
this is Samantha. So that's Samantha.
Oh my gosh. Hello, Samantha. I love this.
Yeah. So that's that's the cardboard harp.
I'm just blown away by this. I mean, I'm blown away by all of it, but this little book is amazing.
Thank you. Oh, here. Want to see my flower book?
I mean,
yes.
yeah, you could show us anything at this point. This is amazing.
Okay.
Oh, how pretty.
God, that's
This
so
is
cool.
this
It's
is
like
a walk.
origami.
This is a walk around Monet's garden.
Oh, each one opens like a circle. Okay, so she had this like fan folded looking half circle thing, and then she's opening up each petal, and each petal is its own circle with a picture inside of different flowers
at Monet's garden.
at Monet's garden. Are those photos you took?
Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then
That's so cool.
and then when she lets it go, it can also make a flower in and of itself once the
Yeah,
Okay.
It's kind of like a ball that.
yeah. I can't think of what it reminds me of, but yes,
Yeah. It's like a flower.
it is very much like a flower, like a paper flower.
As a matter of fact, that funny picture of me that you rejected of the.
I rejected. That I rejected. Yeah, there was.
in the garden. It's Monet's garden.
So little backstory. I have to
can't
defend
wait.
myself a little bit. She sent in this picture that has. It's a beautiful picture. It is. It's a beautiful picture. It's Beth with these yellow flowers in out in nature and outside, and it was lovely. It's just that because of the way that we do our promo graphics, having yellow flowers that close to her face and covering any of her hair starts to look funny if I have to like try to figure out how to edit that. And so I just asked for another. I was flattery. I had the red rejection stamp that I on the email and just sent it right back. Reject. No, I just asked for. Well, I did. You just offered another picture very graciously. Thank you.
No problem.
What I appreciate is that you gave Emily crap. Thank you.
Yeah, that was right on the show. I love it. No, that's really. Thank you. No, I wish we had more of that. Honestly.
I didn't mean to. That.
No, it's fine.
No,
We
it's
can give
great.
Trey crap for his villain-like stare over there.
We should have all come with our white. We should have all worn our white nose things.
In
Aw.
solidarity.
Here.
Aw.
Yeah. Do I have any? I have Kleenex.
I'll just take
Talk
this.
under my glasses here.
We'll
There we
just
go.
be this.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm still not going to turn on my camera, but I appreciate it.
We tried.
Oh, so all right. With my mind completely blown, I need to know about these books because you've talked about
Yeah.
the ladder with the paper behind you, and you make these incredible books. Please tell us more about this.
Well, I make a couple kinds of books. I make blank books that are just like you need one to be your journal. So I make really nice blank books with lovely paper. But I do a lot of artist, which we call like this is technically an artist book. This is an artist book. And also I make pop-up books, and I'm really into pop-up books.
That's so
I belong
cool.
to the Movable Book Society. There's
a movable book
books.
society.
There is. This one.
Ooh.
Okay.
So, what's super cliche about this book is that the structure is actually called the flag structure. So I decided to take it literally, and actually, this is some of the country. This is funny. These are my early passport photos.
Okay.
Ironically, I'm missing my very first passport, which has my China stamp in it, so I'm disappointed about that. But then these are some of my later. But yeah, so these kind of books. But I do, I do a lot of books. Which this is a Coptic binding book. I really love these with sewn bindings to do these. This is actually a book. I got this collection of postcards that my grandmother had from 1910.
Wow.
So I made all these pages, so you can see the front and the back of the pages.
Oh, because it's like got a transparent cover on both sides.
And then this is a Japanese stab binding. So
Neat.
actually, I got to go to Italy and study for 2 weeks. A paper intensive. This is a piece of paper that I dyed in Italy, and this is a key that I bought in Italy.
Wow.
So it's just like, this is actually a photo book of me in Italy.
That is cool.
But yeah,
these are all like little. It's like the book itself is a story, plus what it says inside is each thing. Each book is its own piece of art.
Yeah, this is a small version of some of the blank books that I make that are just blank.
Okay.
Pretty. This is another book that I made of butterflies.
Oh wow! It's like a pop-up butterfly.
Yeah, just a little pop-up book. But yeah, I do a lot of pop-up stuff. Just sort of a little bit of, and I was doing a lot more bookmaking until recently. I became obsessed with Celtic knots, so kind of that's what I'm doing right now. Drawing Celtic knots.
So out of curiosity, what do you do the books for? Do you just do them for yourself because it brings you joy, or are you selling them somehow, or what are you doing with them? Gifting them?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun making pop-up books for my granddaughter, and but yeah, I actually belong to an art gallery here in town, and they have a gift shop, so I sell the books in the art gallery, in the gift shop, and then like I told you, I'm going to teach at a harp conference next month, and so I'm taking a whole bunch of books with me to sell, and they usually sell really well at the harp conferences, and this just basic blank books that people use.
Sure.
Notebooks. So yeah, I have a little stack of books that I'm taking to sell there. Yeah, my friends definitely have a lot of books on. I have a lot of friends that journal, so they love them and are always happy to get one.
Yeah,
and gift them, and mostly it just makes me happy. I love doing them, and a little bit about all of the above.
And that's enough. I was just curious because it seemed like it could be something that you would do just for the joy of it, for your own purposes. Because the ones you showed us were like for you, it looked like, with the flowers.
Those are really personal, obviously, not for sale. I do, I have a whole bunch on my website that are for sale.
Okay.
I was going to ask.
My art and my drawings are on the website that are for sale. So, yeah, I just redid my website recently, which I'm really happy about because I actually have all 3 of my albums on my website, so you can do an instant download, and you can pay me instead of pay Apple. So,
and your website is stockdell.com. That's STOCKDELL.com.
Yeah, like DELL.
Yes.
Not like the valley.
Right.
So, yeah.
Like Dell Computers. Yes. Stockdell. Yes.
Dell, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so everybody go there, and from there you can find your Instagram and Facebook, your YouTube, and go follow you there and support you there as well. Mm-hmm. And if someone were interested in the folk harp journal, Where would they
Yeah.
find that?
It's folkharpsociety.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for anybody, I know this, that I love that you didn't get into harp until later in life, but for anybody who is interested in getting into playing the harp, what is some advice that you'd give them?
Um, well, once I decided that I actually could start the harp, um, I started with piano lessons because I had learned to read music as a kid, but it had been way, way long and really, just singing in the choir and I played the flute for like a millisecond, but I was really terrible at it. But on the flute, you're only reading one line, so it's totally different. So I had to learn to read music again, and so I started with the piano for a little while, and I think that that's really valuable. And I think, especially if you have a piano background, that's a really great place to start. But as soon as I was able to afford my first harp, I sold the little keyboard that I had purchased, because all I wanted to do was play the harp, and that's all I cared about. So, although I often tell people start with piano, on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but all I wanted to do was play the harp. So I didn't stick with piano very long, but it was good to start off reading music again. And but yeah, I would try and find somebody who can teach you, and especially in person. The first teacher that I had here in town was a piano teacher who said, well, I can teach you to play the harp. She taught me how to tune the harp that I did eventually buy because I was doing piano with her. And then she helped me through the first awkward days. But then I went to Portland and I found a harp teacher, and I was like, oh my God, I had a harp lesson. It wasn't just this piano lady trying to put it on the harp. It was actually a harp lesson.
Right.
And it's so important. The harp is, everybody thinks, oh, you're sitting there, you look angelic and you look so cute and whatever. And such a physical thing. It is hard. It's one of the hardest instruments to play. It is hard. and
Yeah.
and I think, and as a teacher, I would get frustrated because people would come and they'd be like, oh, I've always wanted to do this. And I'd be like, oh, great, I'm so happy you're here. First, cut your fingernails. And they'd be like, nope, I'm out of here.
That was a deal breaker.
And then I was like, okay, now you have to practice. And they were like, nope, I'm out of here. And, so even though I start by saying it's really hard to make the harp sound bad, it was years before I even felt vaguely competent. Like, it is I call it butt in the chair time. That's all. There's just no other way around it. And it's very physical, and there's really, really important technique that you need to know that's very specific to the harp. It's not just, you don't do that. You have to, it's very important how you hold your hands to get the tone out of the strings. So having a harp teacher in person is just really, really important. There's I know some wonderful harp teachers who do teach on video, and that's great. But there's no substitute for being in the room with a person, being together. So that's really important. Yeah. And then you'll most likely, and it's also good if you can rent a harp for a little while. And there are different places where you can do that. And a lot of teachers, like as a teacher, I had harps that I would loan to students. But unfortunately, they were small harps. And for me, physically, small harps have never worked for me really well physically. So, if I really just started on a very small harp, I would never have progressed because they just physically, I have a lot of physical problems, and so that's that's a problem. And also is if you're playing on a inferior instrument, you're not getting good sound. You're having to work way harder than you should in order to accomplish something that sounds decent.
Mhm.
uh, and then you're going to be discouraged and you're going to be frustrated. So, um, yeah, take the time to learn and yeah, do more research than I did when I dove in.
Well, I love that nothing you said was you can't.
Oh
So
no, 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 absolutely not. No,
good advice.
no.
Well, Beth, my last question for you, not related to anything to music at all. Uh, if, sorry, excuse me.
Just look into his intense stare.
Look into my intense gaze. Seriously, though, we like to ask this question of our guests just because we get a variety of great answers, and I'm curious about yours. If you were to sit down and have lunch with anyone in the world, alive or dead, who is going to be sitting on the opposite side of that table?
Oh man, that's such a hard question, isn't it?
That's why we ask it.
So hard. Um, well, I think really historical. There's a harpist um, from Ireland in the 1700s who's sort of the patron saint of Irish harpists, Turlough O'Carolan, and of course we have a huge soundbook of tunes that he left us, but we don't actually know what they really sound like. You know, it would just be amazing to sit down um, and talk to him about his songs. But then, you know, my grandmother was my best friend. I miss her. I would love to have her back.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get to know my biological mom very well. I would love, you know, to sit down and talk to her as an adult. That would be interesting. But yeah, could I have dinner with Barack Obama? That would really make me happy.
Yes.
I would
What an
just,
interesting
I
dinner.
would,
Yeah.
yeah, I would. He's just one of my all-time favorite people. I would love to sit down and have a beer with him. That would make me really happy.
What a story that would be to tell later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would be.
So I was having dinner with Barack Obama, a Celtic harpist from the 1700s, and my grandmother. You'll never
All of
believe
them at
that
the
happened.
same time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would have to take my dad and my husband with me because I couldn't have any supper party without them. That would be, yeah, absolutely. No.
That's a fantastic answer. Well, Beth, this last hour with you has been incredible. You really are the definition of a multitudinous artist. So truly, I love your perspective. I love that you infuse so much of your life with art, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. As we close this episode out, this episode, along with more behind the scenes content, can be found on our Patreon. Search for us on Patreon under at the Mod Rom. You can also go to our website, themodrom.com, for more episodes and other glorious goodies. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and have a great evening. Bye.
Bye.